the way we think about it is the worm in the middle, and the way you think about it is the 4 boxes around. That's how I think about it. Because for you, it's 4 different business units in many ways that the organization, that the way you work through that, but we can't think that way. We got to think as the worm in the middle, right? So that's how we think of customer journey, and our idea would be, how can we actually make that the handshake between the businesses, handshake between your own business units, be seamless and can actually have a holistic view of it. So that's the view of what we're doing. And so to follow up to this, obviously we have the panel discussion, come presentation from, we would love to hear from some of them who have graciously accepted to come and participate in our meeting and also share their views about this topic of customer journey. Sudhir, why don't you introduce the panelists for us for the evening?
So first bring about Sridhar Iyer. Sridhar Iyer is from Franklin Templeton, been for around 26 years, both on a banking and mutual fund perspective, heads lots of things, has a
Welcome, Sridhar. Please, have a seat.
And manages the digital transformation for Franklin Templeton.
Yeah, that would be your seat.
The next one. Next, I call upon Amitabh Srivastav. He is the chief head of IT for Sony in India. Again, a 20-year veteran, been in multiple industries.
Amitabh, welcome. Please.
And lastly, I call upon Samrat Das, who is the CIO for MetLife. Again, been in the industry for more than 20 years and
Right. Thank you.
also one of our oldest customer.
Yes.
Actually, as in both of them, both Amitabh also.
Great. Thank you, Sudhir. Thanks again for covering this for me. And we will have the pleasure of, first of all, why don't I give you the pleasure to just get to know these gentlemen with me here. I need to change this a little bit. It's better this way. Yeah, it's better. Okay, so why don't I actually just spend a little bit of time just talking about the gentlemen with us, right? To learn about their background, where they come from, so gives a new perspective to it. Let me start from me, right? That'll be more appropriate before I turn it over to others. So I'm a young professional, 25-year-old, just joined, and I'm sorry. I was thinking I was in a matrimonial site it was. So now this is, I'm obviously been 25 years of industry, been around, seen the transformation of several things. And when I started this journey of customer support and experience, there wasn't anything other than phone, right? And phone was a luxury. You typically didn't have anything other than walking up to a service center or walking up to somewhere and talking about it. It sounds like a very old age, but that wasn't too far ago. That was not too long ago. That is how it was. And then phones came in, and we used to call phones, and if you got lucky, you got somebody on the phone, right? And of course, now it's a different era. I mean, now people don't even want to get on a phone or a chat. They just want to go tweet on Twitter or social, and then the brands are scared and they jump on you and they respond to you, right? It's a whole new era of what this is happening. So I've seen through this phase and been with Telstra for 19 years, right? It just feels like I've grown old with this company, or getting younger because of all the new problems that we're solving every day. So I've seen several of these folks, and they always look like this, by the way. I think I'm the only one that's got older. They always look like this. I mean, maybe a few gray hairs here and there, but by and large, they look the same. More than few. So fabulous. So, and happy to be in the middle of all of you. This is a great pleasure. And for those of you who may not know this, I am the managing director of Telstra. So, thank you. So, turning over to Sridhar.
Okay. So, can you hear me? Okay. Born, brought up in Bombay. I think I've been largely a retail banker. Worked in various aspects of retail banking, operations, sales, marketing, and a larger stint in credit risk management. changed industries, and now for the last 5 years working, loosely put, business strategy with a mutual fund company. So largely BFSI. That's about it. I think it's been 25 long years. And I've definitely been younger if I had worked for Talisman.
What was your first job?
First job was Standard Chartered Bank, or maybe a short stint with an engineering company.
Yeah.
But then it was Standard Chartered for 3 years, HSBC for 15.
Do you recall what was your first ever customer support call? What could be an incident where you actually had to reach out? I mean, it's probably a long time ago, but however far you can go to remember this.
Oh, I do remember Standard Chartered sent me to operate 2 branches in Baroda and Ahmedabad, I think 22 years back, where I used to have the key to the office. I was the first one. If I got late, the branch opened late. And I couldn't leave till everyone left because I had to lock the branch. So those have been days. 3-man branch, 2 who can't speak English, and 2 who don't have access to a system. So imagine most of the work gets done by the one other person who was me. From there, it's been a long journey. But yeah, there have been some difficult customer-facing moments there.
Absolutely, and the customers, the nature of customers have changed, the nature of businesses have changed. There are no more 3 branches. Standard Chartered has a very different model of operating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very different business. Amitabh?
Hi, I have got a very hybrid background to start. I'm from a sales and a marketing background when I started my career, and it was around almost a decade when I was into hardcore sales, marketing activities in FMCGs, pharmaceuticals, these kind of companies. Then I shifted to IT.
Okay.
And it was more of a...
You got to the dark side after that.
I don't know. So whatever I learned over there, which was more of a domain knowledge, used to call it at that time, I used that knowledge into designing the processes in the business and how to put it into the IT. Is that's the way I looked into it. And since then, it has been a good journey, not too bad. Yeah, then I had experience of working with Talisman.
Yeah.
For last 10 years, yes. For last 10 years, I'm with Sony. So during my 2 decades of an IT career, I can almost say that half of it was with the consulting, when I was into the consulting side, and then half of it was with the other business side, as I call. And this is more to do with implementing the strategy of the business, being more close to the business actually, that's what I feel. And actually being part of it, breathing it in and out, and being part of the growth or degrowth or whatever you call it. That's it.
Fabulous. So thank you, Amitabh. So Samrat, from the scarier part of the world, which is called insurance, right? So Samrat.
Yeah, so story is not too different from others. I think 23 years of experience. Started with a pharmaceutical company, and then moved into financial services and more polarized to insurance. So I was one of the few guys who was an opportunity when the insurance opened up in 2000, 2001. Started as a consulting, IT consulting, then moved to the other side of the table. So been going on for almost 2 decades now. In between, I had some opportunity to work with a mutual fund company. I used to work with Fidelity for around 5 years. I wore various hats. Then I think insurance is something which pulled me again. So I'm back with insurance. Right now with PNB MetLife for almost 3.5 years. I take care of the entire spectrum of IT, digital transformation. And I think after 23 years now, I'm trying to understand a little about business. I think technology is a little behind me now. Learning business so that whatever insights, intelligence, transformation as a business changer is what I'm trying to learn now. I think that's about me.
Great. So we didn't choose this panel we chose this panel based on the companies. We didn't choose them based on their profile. As I was going through the profile, actually it's pretty good. One comes from sales background, one comes from services background, one comes from IT consulting background. Actually, we got a pretty good mix of folks here. So this is going to be an interesting panel. So the way we're going to go about it is we actually would start with each one of them giving an overview. I know Sridhar is going to be using slides, and other two may not be using slides, but giving a brief. Are you going to be using slides? No, you're just giving a brief, right?
I had some.
Oh, you have slides, yeah. So two of them will be using slides, and then Samrat would be impromptu 10 minutes.
Telling the story.
Telling the story, right? So we'll be doing the slides. So we'll go in the same order. We'll have Sridhar, then Amitabh, then we'll go into Samrat. So we'll have Sridhar give us the first, his view on customer journey and how they have adopted this and how he is viewing this whole journey. And he's in the middle of a very important transformation project that he is in. I think there is going to be a lot of things that we can learn from him, do's and don'ts, and some of the successes. So we can replicate those and make sure that the failures are at his cost and success are at our cost, right? Over to you. Yeah, slides will come on as you go up there.
So good evening. I think I'll try and share a little bit about what I've got to learn at Franklin on our digital transformation journey. I think we had a digital capability at least 6-7 years back, what I would call the equivalent of internet banking for a mutual fund. You could go, you could transact, you could get your statements, and you could get small odd jobs and avoid the travel to the branch. I think around 3 years back, we decided that we wanted to reform it. I'll take you through that journey now. But just before that, I'd like to sort of, how do I play this? Sorry? Next slide? Okay. I'll just play a small clip to let you know how we see today's customer. That's the way we see our customers and their love for their mobiles. I think the world has come a long way and got completely centered around a person and his phone. There's so much that's spoken about it. But for us, when we say think mobile first, I really think that we've come a long way in changing the way we think. Everything we do is now forced to think through how it would appear, how it would be used, how it will appeal on a mobile phone. So we've been through many phases in digital. As I said, the first phase was just generally a basic ability. Phase 2, as I would call, we called it branch in a phone. Tried and put down the 30 things that any person would desire and would want at a branch, and try and make sure all those 30 things could be done through an app on a mobile. Okay? Whether it's transaction, whether it's service, end-to-end service, whether it's communication as well. So instead of coming into a branch and talking about a problem, we provided on an app the ability to chat. You could chat, you could say, call me back, you could leave a question and say, answer it, whatever it was. Essentially, 3 years back, we built what we thought for our investors and for our distributors. We are a B2B business. A lot of our business is done through intermediary. And they need to be serviced as well. We thought we could build that capability on an app. So that was built 3 years back. It's got some very good traction. We are sensing the rates of calls into our contact center dip. The amount of people walking into a branch's dip, or the reasons why they're now walking has slightly changed. And those that can be managed on a phone are definitely being managed on a phone. That's the first part of the journey. It took us around 12 to 15 months to build. It did take us at least another 18 months to try and stabilize. So the one thing you need to realize is that on the digital build, I think build is easy. Actually executing it and making it stick is quite tough. We then moved on to what I would think is phase 2. And as we learned phase 1, there were a lot of thoughts that shaped our phase 2. And I've put up those thoughts here. Some of it has been covered by Sudhir in some of the conversations, but understanding millennials, extremely important. Even in the mutual fund industry, millennials are a significant number of people. They may not yet bring up the value, but in terms of number of transactions that they account for is quite significant. They think differently. As someone said, they've been born with a phone in their hand. They're extremely comfortable with a phone, and they're quite demanding that they do not be asked to do the things that what they think their parents or their grandparents did. They have short attention spans. They're extremely impatient. They are used to multitasking and extremely good at multitasking. They are digital first. The way I would want to search for information and the way my daughter would want to search for information are quite two ends of the spectrum. They are mobile first, and hence your ability to start thinking how will things appear in a mobile is hygiene and not even something that can be sort of considered and put onto a strategy. Their need for hyper personalization. A lot of us, at least a lot of my generation, still can't get to grips with how is it that I go and search for something on the net. For a week after that, I'm chased with what I had in my mind. It's quite disturbing that someone knows how much about what I want. But if you take the next gen, that's common, that's understandable, and that's actually expected. So KYC in this case is know your customer well enough to understand what he or she wants. And that's a high ask in today's digital construct. And I'll speak a bit about how we build it. Hyper-personalization, intuitive UI. If you know I buy using a debit card, please don't tell me how I'd like to pay. If you think I always buy equity, don't bother me with fixed income. These are expectations that are getting built and are actually staying, and the customer brings it on when he's interacting with us. Best in class is redefined. At one point in time, we used to have statistics that says amongst all mutual fund companies, we are the fastest. Amongst all mutual fund companies, our time to register and buy is the fastest. I don't think the customer sees it in those silos. To me, the best-in-class experience is an Uber. The best-in-class experience is a Paytm. The best-in-class experience could be an Amazon, could be a Flipkart, could be whatever. And he brings that same expectation set when he's dealing with a bank, when he's dealing with any other e-com, when he's also dealing with a mutual fund. I think industry lines no longer matter, no longer exist, and the customer is quite simple saying, if I saw a way I could deal digitally with one company, that's the expectation he or she carries with all other companies. And lastly, it's forever evolving. There's nothing which I have ever known, at least in the last 5 years, of digital maturity achieved. Even as we build, sometimes in a span of 12 months, we realize that what we are building might not last us more than 12 months. So that's how fast this world is evolving. So you must, as you go on your digital journey, be ready to be able to constantly build, bring down and build, evolve and build again. But leading from all those that drove our decision into what we took into the next phase, which is the phase we are currently working on. We are doing a lot of things, of which I'd like to speak on just 3 items, given the paucity of time. One is a bot. Again, Sudhir covered a bot, but in our minds, the ability to have a human standing in front of our customer forever is tough. And that world is changing. Second, to get 2 humans on a call or in a branch together, it's expensive. We are now building a bot to almost try to mimic how a human conversation would go. It used to be just text-based. It is now voice-based. For all of us who talk to our Google Assistant, to our homes, to our Siris, to our Alexas, you know it's possible. In all our interactions that require a conversation, we are hoping that a bot can step in to try and play a role in that. Once you build it, it's self-learning. It can be intelligent. There are smart bots. They not only know what to answer, they also know what to answer for you differently for what to answer for someone else. Also, we realized that the age of putting up a website and putting up an app and hoping that the customer will come to you, to your app to deal with you, is also a thought that's fading. I think we have to go and be where the customer likes to be. So if a customer likes talking to Alexa, I need to be able to serve him if he's on the Alexa platform but wants to talk to me about his mutual funds, or on WhatsApp, or on Viber, or on any other forum. Hence, having a bot at the center of your ecosystem helps you to try and tie up with many other platforms in which a customer want to deal with us. The second area that I would touch upon is something called the customer data platform. Though it's a technology term, I think in a sense, customers today are talking to you on your Twitter handle, they're talking to you on your Facebook post, they go and read an email that you sent, they are responding to a SMS, they are with you on a chat window. There is a lot of touch points that a customer leaves you with. There's an ability and a need for you to be able to understand him or her over these various channels, understand and gather the intelligence, and try and serve him seamlessly irrespective of the channel that he chooses to deal with you. So I may come and post a complaint on Twitter, but I might walk into a branch tomorrow. If you have a system of record that clocks all complaints on Twitter different from all complaints on a branch, I think you're going to struggle because he'll have to come and repeat his problem to you. So there's a demand that I can keep choosing how I'd like to touch you. You have to be able to understand at all points in time what I have said when I touched you the last time. A customer data platform loosely helps you deal with that challenge better and allows you to personalize basis that intelligent on how you'll deal with every customer. We are in the midst of that implementation, and initial results are good, and hopefully, that should help us try and manage our omni-channel strategy better. And lastly, I think intuitive interface, what we built 3 years back, when we watch it, is woefully inadequate. When our customers watch it, is worse. So even with the bias that we built it, we believe it's outdated. The time taken for a transaction, we realize if it's more than 15 seconds, customer is actually ready to exit. Okay? And these are serious people who want their wealth to be managed, who are starting a journey to place money for serious intent like their retirement, child's education, and their patience levels is down to 15 seconds. And I don't know where it will go from here on in a couple of years from now, but our ability to have him start a transaction and see that the transaction ended successfully with all the choices that I need him to check within 15 seconds is a challenge. So we're rebuilding our UIs to make sure we can cut out all the steps and try and get as close to the one-click proverb as possible. Essentially, in a new age world, I think as I just spoke about, look at all the channels where the customer touches you, build that intelligence. How's that intelligence? Make it reek out what you know about the customer better. Make sure you build a strategy basis that intelligence. Orchestrate that strategy across all the channels in which the customer can touch you. Have a communication that's personalized, and last, test, learn, improve, and evolve. I think that's in many ways, the mantra that we are using for our current phase of digital. So where will all that take into our digital build? I'm going to play a small video that touched me well. I will leave it to the judgment of the audience and the panel here on whether this is something that can be real today or will be real in the near future.
I assume all of you know what Alexa is, right? So Toyota just announced that they're adding Alexa to their cars so you can control things with your voice. It's supposed to be convenient and helpful. Here's their commercial.
Starting this year, Toyota and Lexus luxury models will come with Amazon Alexa.
Alexa, turn on the AC.
Turning on AC.
Finally, a virtual assistant to help you navigate.
Alexa, where's the nearest gas station?
Nearest gas station in 1.5 miles.
And to help maintain your vehicle.
Alexa, order more brake pads.
Ordering new brake pads. Although maybe if you didn't stop so close to the car in front of you.
I left plenty of room.
You drive too aggressively.
If you were just quiet for 2 seconds, 2 seconds.
She'll talk to you literally the entire time you're driving.
I think you should have turned back there.
I know where I'm going!
Hi, you know why I pulled you over?
No, officer, I have...
Because we were driving 72 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone.
Anything else I should know?
2 miles back, we rolled through a stop sign without coming to a complete stop. Also, there are illegal fireworks in the trunk.
Sir, may you just step out of the car, please?
Amazon Alexa. You'll never get away from her.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Please, another round of applause. That was excellent. Well done. Well done. Well done. Hey, by the way, we are going to give an Alexa away, I think a few Alexas away at the end of the show. So make sure you fit it to the car. Okay, so we want to see this happen to you. So, I think with the risk of embarrassing myself, I got to tell you, the first video that was played happened to me this morning. Okay, this actually happened to me. So I woke up at 4:30, and I have no idea why I woke up at 4:30. And I started looking for my phone, and I couldn't find it. And panic. I got to go to Mumbai. Where is my phone? It's like the nervous system breakdown. And then I just couldn't find it. And I kept searching, and I couldn't find it. So then finally, I took my wife's phone and dialed my number. And, I've never even observed this. There's a gap there. There's a small gap between the bed where it goes and the wall. It just fallen inside there. And today, of all the days, it has to happen like that. So I'm like panicked now. Now I don't know. It's 4:30 a.m. Who do I call to help me? So I figured I went and got like this big stick to kind of pull it to the side. And I thought, this is the most intelligent idea I have, engineering idea. And I pulled it and went further in. So now I'm in trouble. So I woke up my wife. I said, please help me. And she's like, what? This is panic. I mean, it's worse than the TV, what you just saw on the video. So, and then finally, me and my wife are doing this, pulling this cart, like it's quite heavy. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's how I got my phone. So that is real. And I'm standing example of that, right? And if that's also, I'm also a customer. So that tells the story. So well covered. I'm going to come back to some of the most important things. I think one most important thing that I left behind is the time for transaction.
Yep.
I think if anything, that is the most important thing we ought to take back. 15 seconds just feels ridiculously low. I mean, how real is this? 15 seconds?
In fact, 15 is me being just nice to myself.
Really?
I think people would walk out much earlier.
Wow. I mean, that is something by the way, I'm sure at some point all of you have done this. You're at a site, you're buying something, you just gone. You're in something, you've gone. So when you said 15 seconds, I counted. I said 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 15 seconds is a lot.
It's quite a lot. Yeah.
It's quite a lot. Actually, when you start sitting and counting in front of your computer, that's a lot of seconds. So that was fantastic. So we'll come back to you. And Amitabh, you have the slides ready? Okay, let's bring it on.
Thanks, Sridhar. That was a great insight. Thank you. As everyone know, I'm from Sony. So basically, we have been into the fortunes of technology. And if we look into kind of our values and purpose that we drive is basically, again, whole technology-based solution is what we offer to the world. So we try to fill up the customers with the emotion from our creativity and technology solutions that we provide. And then we have a set of values which drive whole of our principles on what we drive this thing. And definitely customer is one of the core strength behind what we drives us to give new value propositions in terms of technology to the customer. And for you, this would be a product. For us, this is what we sell. But then there's a technology behind it. And what we call it as a customer lifetime value management. Though there's a science behind it, there's a formula behind it. But still, we go beyond technology. What we see is we say that we would like to engage with the customer with a personal touch. This is starting from the sales, the day you walk into the shop to experience our product. You experience one of a salesperson who gives a personal attention to you. Then we create an environment around the whole sales process, whole service process. So we try to empower the customer with the omni-channel presence, whether you try to contact it with the post-sale experience. If there's any issue with the product, you try to come with us. So what I'm trying to share with you today is how do we create and approach the whole customer lifetime value as of now, and how do we try to do it with the onset of technology, which is what we're trying to do over here in the long term. And definitely we have to have a a robust omni-channel infrastructure digital backend, which will be able to drive these values to the customer. So if I try to give you a brief insight on what we are doing currently with our customer lifetime in the engagement with them. And this is a brief insight, just to give you an idea what's happening with Sony's customer. So one of the things is like Bravia loyalty program is something wherein we are trying to touch base with the customer. One thing is customer is definitely very technological advanced. They are very savvy with their phone. But how many of you use that technology to the extent that it is meant to be used? So if you bought a TV, what you do most with it? You would go and watch a TV, you turn on the thing, you watch the TV, turn it off. But there's so many other features which have been built into that TV. So how do you know what are to be there? So when you go and buy a TV at the customer end, your first 4 thing would be, what is the best picture quality, what is the sound, best sound, and how do I find it which is best, smartest technology in the terminology sense. 4K, okay, I like have to have 4K. Sound wise, which is best sound. This is a smart TV with the latest Android features in it. Fine, you bought a TV, you come in, the customer, one of our service engineers would come to your place, would explain to you what does that happen. But you are in a euphoria at that time of going through a purchase cycle, so you would like to, you would not be able to concentrate on great extent to get the whole crux out of that product. But what we try to do is, after 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months of a purchase, we will try to go back to you as a customer, and then we give you the whole experience of the product. So that's what Bravia loyalty program is all about. I'll give a brief more detail on this. And then there's Alpha Connect. Alpha Connect is basically for our camera users, Alpha camera users, which is a DSLR kind of camera. So when a customer buys a camera, it is again a journey for them, starting with photographs, lenses, and then he keeps on adding to those journeys by learning new attributes or tricks of photography. So that's what Alpha Connect is all about. Then Magic Touch is one of our service initiatives, wherein we get in touch with the customer who is actually not having very good experience or might not have very good things to say about the product, and we get in touch with them, we try to convert that customer into the positive side and change his experience to enhance his value from the Sony. And then there's something which is again happening is value addition to complement our product is Atmos Ripple. When you buy a product like Atmos, buy a TV, then we try to upsell you or give an enhanced product along with that TV. So I'll just take you through that. So Bravia loyalty program is about, as I told you, you buy a product, we give you a brief demo at the time of sales, but later on we go back to you, we tell you what the whole product is all about, we give you the features of the product. So you bought a smart TV, but you are not aware about half of the features of the product, what else it can do. There are TVs which are coming with Alexas now. We are talking, in Tokyo they are talking about TVs with the inbuilt IoTs in it. So anything's wrong with the TV, it will come to us directly. So there's something similar with built-in Alexa which tells us what's wrong with the TV. So they're talking about that. So all of that features the customers are not aware about. So we go later on to the customer when the euphoria of the sales is over. We go to them, tell them about this, about Bravia, what else it can do. Also we try to tell them how this Bravia can integrate with other devices. It can integrate with the soundbar, it can integrate with your TV, it can integrate with your set-top box and many other things. So whole of this kind of consultancy is what we give as offer to the customer. And this is the kind of responses that we get from the customer once they have seen this kind of service coming from us. Alpha Connect. You buy a camera, most of the camera that we have seen, people who buy the cameras are people who are actually starting their journey on the photography. They don't know too much about photography. So we try to embark them in the whole journey, start giving them education on the, we start having service cams from them, we start telling them what's better of the camera, how can they take it more out of the camera, what are the better lens, we give them photography workshops, etc. So this is part of Alpha Connect initiatives. Magic Touch. As I told you, if you have not had a good experience and you There are omni-channel ways to tell us that you are not very happy with it. So we have go into that issues personally and try to evaluate what are the issues over there, then go back to the customer and turn around the customer, give a positive response from them. So this is again one of how do they turn it around. We give them a better experience and they come back to us and become a brand ambassador kind of us. So from a negative to a total positive side. And Atmos Ripples. This is again upsell. You bought a TV and then we give you a complimentary demo of our sound bars and how they can enhance your whole audio visual experience. Now this is something which we do it out of hand. So if you bought a TV and if you're interested in the sound bar, we will go to your home, give you a demo of a sound bar, and then you see yourself that how does it feel. And then this is the customer response. This is coming again on social media. How do they give a response on that? So these are the kind of initiatives. There's very few initiatives wherein we are trying to reach to the customer on a personal basis because we're already connected to him through an audio video. We are trying to reach them on a personal basis and build up that personal relationship on a lifetime value. So we are always engaged with the customer on a long-term basis. And what are the other initiatives that we are doing to build up this something similar? What other people are doing is building up a CMDB. We call it a marketing database, but technically it's a 360-degree view of the customer. We are building up that. We are integrating all our social media and all the other platforms with our CRM. So we have omni-channel experience at our end, so we are able to give better value to the customer. Working on a campaign management solution, so reach out to the customer as and when he wants. And then we are creating open platforms for them. This is something like communities. Alpha Communities is a platform wherein alpha users can come, put in the experience in terms of photographs, what they've clipped, get appreciated. We'll give them free workshops or inform them of a workshop which is happening, a photography workshop in the area. They can come and join that. We are creating a prosumer customer, professional user customer who are using lots of our cameras and video cameras. We are creating a community for them. And these kind of communities are there which we have seen a great response from the users from our side. And also for the chat, we already introduced the bot, which is working very well, we are trying to integrate with the knowledge base at global level. So these are the kind of techno-functional things which we are doing on a long-term journey for building up with the customer. So I think that's from my side.
Fantastic. So Amitabh, superb. I think I asked him when I was giving the briefing on what he should be covering. I asked him the question, it'll be good to know how Sony sells against TLC and few of the other brands. That's exactly what I told him. I mean, that was my conversation. I said, how do you differentiate, right? I mean, it's like crazy. I mean, you think about Sony and you think about all these guys, Oppo, TLCs, everybody's selling it. I think that was well covered. That said the story that Sony is always going to remain an aspirational brand. Right? You can't take that away. Right? So that is what Sony is doing. So Amitabh, thank you. And I'm going to pick on several of the things you mentioned. Especially, I love the way that you're not about selling product, but you're about selling experience.
That's right.
So it's not the camera that makes the difference. It is what you do with the camera that makes the difference. So I love the way you're packaging the whole photography as an idea, not as a product. Right? So it's wonderful. Love that story. So we now turn it over to Samrat, and he's going to do an impromptu, but 23 years, a lot of experience right there. Go ahead.
Thanks, Raj. So maybe I'll start with some context about what we do as a business. I think when we say about insurance, it's a very motherhood statement what we do. I think that will set the context about the digital theme and how do we leverage that to achieve our business priorities. So we are in the business of insurance, so someone will say that you just do a probability of an event to happen, but that's as simple as that. But it is beyond that. Like any other financial services, like I have my colleague here from Franklin Templeton, financial services is a distribution-led business. And in a country like India, Point number one, it is always going to be a distribution-led business, whether it is banks as a channels, IFA as a channels, agents as a channels, broker as a channels, whatever it is. So at PNB MetLife, the name itself talks about it's a JV between PNB and MetLife. We are basically a bank assurance driven company. Around 70% of our business are sourced through bank as a channel, and the other 30% keeps on happening on other alternate channels like agency. So that's the first business context. By the virtue of being a JV, we have around 120 branches, which is our own captive branches. And then we have our partner branches, which is approximately 11,000 branches across the country, which puts us in a unique position to leverage a distribution advantage in a country like India. Now, with that as a context, the two other things I would like to say is that as we speak today, we have almost 3.5 million customers as we speak. We do a business of around nothing less than 900 million USD. Now, if these things are true, how does digital evolve in such a scenario? There are two simple things of business which we do. We need to do sales and we need to do service. And by the virtue of an insurance, our services are not perishable, our services are long tenure. It can be a 10-year contract, it can be a 20-year contract. There are products which is even 100-year contracts. Now, if these two imperatives are right to drive operational efficiency, we said that we'll go back and put a theme around this and figure out how we drive this unique competitive advantage which we have, which is basically the blur between the physical and the digital world. Because you have 11,000 branches, you have around 110, 120 branches, how do you put it across? So we came out with a theme and we said our digital theme is based on 3 Ds, and that was Digital 1.0. What it essentially means is that the first one is about digitize. So digitize every process which you have and use the mediums of mobility and other mediums to ensure that you completely digitize. The second thing was around data. And in data, long story short, is not only trying to figure out the probability of an event to happen, but to ensure that data is mined more intelligently to predict events, to predict behaviors, to predict so many things. So that's the next thing around D. And the third one is around disruptions. Because in this world of continuously changing, and I was so excited to hear that I can actually tell Alexa to fix my TV if the TV goes wrong. And that's the power of an IoT.
You don't have to tell
Alexa will tell you, sorry. And that's the power of an IoT. Well, IoT is one of the various things around the digital footprint which we have. So the third one is around disruptions. And if you have to get going, the concept of test and learn has to keep on going. Which asset is going to be successful is anybody's guess. But the intent to ensure that you continually disrupt yourself by adopting disruptive technology is something should be the DNA of a forward-looking digital company. I think these 3 Ds set us around 3 to 4 years back, a little before that, to put the first Digital 1.0 in place. And as we speak today, as a company, approximately 400,000 new business policies we do in a year. That's the kind of scale we do across all these branches which we do. 80% of our business is completely digitized. It's completely paperless. It is 24/7 into 365 from an era which was 6/7 to something which is there. On the data, obviously there are a lot of foundational blocks which we have put across. I like the term calling insights, but the whole concept is move from insights to intelligence, because as you do, you need to have those intelligence built up from that huge gold mine of data which you have to figure out how you predict a propensity to lapse. And I heard Sudhir telling me a customer retention being one pillar of your Talisman 11, and for an insurance company, a retention of a customer is a big business driver. And retention of a customer is just a word, but the science which goes behind that, it has got various imperatives, and data is one of the very important things to figure out. How do you ensure that you are able to retain someone, or the probability of someone slipping out, to figure out how do we do it. And the last about disruptions, I will not talk much about it. We were the first one perhaps in the whole industry to do a customer service on VR. We call it Converse. We did it in 2016. It was not about trying to do some operational efficiency, but the whole ability to give customer an immersive experience on virtual reality. We did it for the first time. We evolved from there, and we said that let's move ahead on the curve, because VR is constrained in terms of today's mobility world, by the virtue that it's a little resource intensive. We went into an AI-based customer service app called Khushi, and it's again has got tons and tons of downloads and all the things which is going to there. So that was the first theme around digital 1.0. When we went, said that now we need to move to digital 2.0, now that we have some experience around what we have done, and that's how we carved it. One of the important things which is relevant here and where we leveraged Talisman was when we did the theme of digitize, we saw some very interesting insights. The first insight which we saw was the application form which gets submitted in an insurance business was only in the midnight. It never happened during the day. We saw that for every one new business we source, we have a ratio of 5 servicing requests which comes. And that was the opportunity to say that now we need to figure out in digital 2.0, we move to servicing, which is available 24/7 into 365, and which is more with a theme of being self-serviced and not trying to take a request, which is traditionally called as a service request, and try to process something on the back end. And that is where we said that let's embark with a combination of a microservices architecture, device agnostic, on an API to ensure that we give this digital servicing a seamless experience. I'm not getting into the more around solutioning, but a coherent solutioning was embedding the CRM into it to do it. Because today what we talk about in our theme, we say that we have a B2C, we have a B2B, and we have a B2E, and the fourth generation which is coming out is B2A, is the whole evolution of APIs. Today, as we are embedding into the whole digital ecosystem, people are not interested in giving you a portal or any other asset there. He said, just give me the API, I know what to do. And in the financial services, well, India has not experienced it, but globally, there is nothing known as a unit trust or a mutual fund or an insurance or a structured product. It's a wrap which comes out, and this is the foundation of what putting the API in place. So I think that's the story which we are playing out right now. So 2019 is going to be a very interesting year for us. We're putting the foundation block in place and ensuring that this whole concept of API is put it across in our endeavor to have a multi-channel distribution architecture and de-risking from traditional channels of banks as a channel, IFA as a channel, agency as a channel. I think that's the story I had. The story has been extremely encouraging. Why? I'll tell you. One is that digital is not a silo story which is getting played out without business imperative. Business is able to see direct business benefits. That is number one. Second one is that in our landscape, so we have intermediary footprint of around more than 20,000 directly. The story which we have is, it's a pull story and not a push story. And the pull story is because the benefits or the utility of embarking into the digital journey is something which is felt across the value chain and not confined to the boardrooms or the corporate rooms at Bombay. I think that's what I had to say. As we evolved and more new technologies come in, I think the story is going to play out in a more accelerated fashion from here on. And we look forward for partners like you to help us in designing and making this story successful. I think that's the story I have from my side. Thank you so much.
All right. Brilliant. No, thank you so much, Samrat. I think the one, again, talking about the numbers, I think the number that it caught my attention is the 1:5 ratio. For every one product you sell, there are 5 service requests that comes in. I think in different businesses, they're different, but that's quite interesting that in insurance, it is that high. I didn't expect it's that high, actually. That is, I mean, if you think of a lot of these insurance, I mean, they don't cost that much, really. I mean, I know you may have other opinion, but when I compare that to some of the global rates, it doesn't cost that much in India.
Yeah.
But having 5 service requests is where the margin dries up, right? So I'd love to actually start from you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So has that changed with all the digital transformation you're doing? And how are you, I mean, after your self-service has been implemented, has that changed, or what's directionally, how you are driving that? And again, service is an important thing too, right? I mean, what you don't want to do is not talk to your customers at all, or don't provide them service is also a wrong thing. So how do you balance that, and how do you still keep that?
So you're right. I think there are 2 things which has essentially happened. One, see, technology is, I think, very standard. The science is easier to do. The art is a little difficult one to do. I think there has been an internal cultural DNA change about what this is all about. From trying to talk about TAT and SLAs, people are talking about experience today. I think that's a paradigm shift which has happened in this organization. I think that's very important, because there's someone who said that, God forbid a claim happens in your family. It is not the ability to go and give them the claim instantaneously, because in the time of grief, no one talks about the money, but the experience saying that, hello, I'm there with you, you don't have to worry, is what the experience is all about. And that is what is the cultural change we are talking about through various digital assets which we have across the board. I think that's so important, because a lot of times people try to put the denominator, which is more of numbers or some ratios, which is important. I'm not saying it is not important, but if you have to move across the digital culture or the digital DNA, you have to move beyond that. Is this whole immersive experience which you give, and that's what differentiates you from others in the short run, in the medium term, and also in the long term. I think that's how it is. Brilliant.
So I was actually, I was describing this example in the someone I was talking about in a day-to-day life. What's an experience? I mean, hospital. Right? Think about hospital. We all go there. Hospitals actually have the cleanest data. I mean, you never lie in a hospital, right? We would think so, at least. So you never lie in a hospital. So the first point where you give the true data, everything correct is school. The next is in hospital, right? So if you look at how clean the data is, it's quite accurate. But you go into the hospital, I mean, they're not doing much with the data, of course. When you go into the hospital, you go to the doctor, you do a consultation, you then go, they give you a prescription. Now you take the prescription, go to, search for 3 different pharmacies, because finally you'll find all 3 of them finally in one in each one of them, Murphy. Then you go home and think about that versus think about this as an experience. You go in, you meet the consultant, you come out, you pay, everything paid, including the medicine. You go home, medicine at your doorstep. Is it possible with technology today? Absolutely it is. Yep. It's just that it is all done by different people. There's Practo who set this up. There is, the pharmacy guys, there is a door to delivery, right? They deliver that. There is an insurance at the back end which covers that. Is it possible to do all of that? Absolutely it is. Right? Think about that as a journey. That isn't that far out. Based on what you're hearing here, that isn't that far out. And you know, when you think from what we heard on the IoT, and I want to get that's I'm excited about that because I'm worried, do they have a camera as well there? So think about, you know, IoT and and Alexa. I mean, TVs, that's an expensive customer. What is the level of service, that touch points that you have with those customers? Your I want to get the name right. You call that as the Bravia Loyalty.
Yeah, so Bravia is the brand for the TV for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you call the Bravia Loyalty for all the TV bought customers.
no, it's touch point for the customers for us starts from the point when you bought the TV.
Yeah.
So if you ask me what's my touch point is around 3,000 outlets where the TV is placed. That's where your first experience with the TV would start. Yes, once you have bought the TV and how you are going to experience the whole ownership of a Sony TV is what we call as a Bravia loyalty program.
Okay.
So wherein we try to give you a more immersive experience on owning the TV and getting more value out of that TV. So you definitely bought a TV, you bought a 4K TV, you bought a brand Sony. So that's alignment. Now you get a value out of that brand when you see, oh, something similar available in something much economical price somewhere, and I watch TV with this. But definitely there's more value attached to that brand and more experience attached to that brand. So how do we get more out of that whole experience of, and this is something which you can actually feel. So if I go and to your home and explain you the process of what your TV can do apart from just giving you channel visuals and what else you can do with your TV, is something what Bravia loyalty program is all about. How it can engage with your sound bars, how it can engage with your Wi-Fi, what else you can do with that. You can watch your, definitely OTTs is something very, very common. Next year the TVs are coming with inbuilt Alexa. They are coming inbuilt Alexa. So that's a normal thing. You call to talk to TV and tell them what you want to watch. Your remote is gone.
Remote is gone.
Remote is gone. Remote is already out.
That's the best UI. I told you about what's the best UI when you have no UI. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the best UI.
This is for everyday thing for us. Actually, remote is already out as of now today also, because your mobile can act as a remote.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
But you don't know that. So my engineer would walk and tell you, so this is an app. You have a mobile always in your hand. You can't leave.
No more searching the
no more
corners
searching
of
for
your
that black
couch
thing over there. And where have you kept it? You open your mobile and start doing your thing with that, changing your channel or do whatever you want. You can connect your mobile with the TV. Watch your photographs from direct connect with TV. You don't have to search for everything else. So there are various kind of UX you have with the. So it's enhancing the whole UX experience of a TV, of that product, with the other technological product which you have, is what you try to do in the Bravia loyalty program.
Fabulous. So for you, a customer journey obviously starts at the store, and then it starts with the purchase of the product, and then it is all about how they are using it to the time they come back and upgrade and buy the next TV again, right? Because it's a lifelong engagement.
Yeah. So then the second project comes, which is Atmos Ripples. Atmos Ripples is something wherein we would, if you are interested in sound, you want to enhance sound experience, so we'll come with an enhanced sound bar with you to your place, and we show it to you like you got such a good TV. If you put in this additional product, you get a similar experience where you can enjoy the 4K experience totally. So that is Atmos Ripples project for us.
Yeah.
So that's again. Now, once you do that, you say, yes, I'm interested, where can I buy? So we can get it delivered. You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. Brilliant. So we would like to draw that worm for you and see how the worm works.
So now, if you look at how do technology fit in, is we have to find this right customer with the right ways, with the right intent to do it, who have shown the interest when we do capture it. So this is something which we want to capture and target them and have a consent from them. Yes, we can come to you, visit you, and show you this, give you the experience. Then it's up to you.
No, absolutely. So I think 2-3 things which you said very, very important. One is the UI. That's brilliant. It covers the capture of what we are thinking. The other thing is it is about experience. You're willing to pay a premium for an experience. And there is no better choice than picking up a brand like Sony and saying, that's very willing to pay. I mean, it's sometimes it's a brand. You know, if you have you may be wearing the best watch, and I say, what would be the best watch that you want to wear? You'd probably say Rado, Rolex, or Tag Heuer or something. It would show you the same time, right, as any other watch. But it is the feel of wearing a watch like that. And that's an experience, right? You go in to buy a Rado, they won't sell it to you like, okay, here, take this. Or they won't hang it on the wall where you can go pick up and pay. There is somebody always standing behind it and making it feel like it's special. I think that's a human interface. Similar thing is what happens on the digital world. I think now when we're talking about IoTs and everything coming into it, digital journey, this is where I think technology adoption driving it is very important. I'll come back, pick on some of those other things. I'll come back to you. I think you said about 15 seconds. I'm going to keep going back to the 15 seconds. I can't get that out of my head right now, right? So how did you arrive at this? I mean, what kind of data analytics that you had to do to come up to this? Because this is such a staggering data point, right? And how did you sensitize this to the whole organization?
Well, you see that if the 100 transactions start, 75 don't end. Okay. And if you today in the digital world, you have Google Tags. Google Tags can come and share with you how long he stayed on that site and how long he's taken before he's taken flight. It doesn't take much to start realizing that there's a time zone for which he's willing to give you time, after which he just goes away. It's not very difficult. I think if you take your internet banking, you log in, if you do a transaction, it takes too long, you just exit and you go away. It's not the transaction not important. You simply have a switch that cuts off after time. If I'm seeking a Uber and he says drivers searching for 8 cars, if it doesn't respond in the next 15, 20 seconds, I'm gone off. Not that I don't need the transport. It's just that in my mind, I'm not willing to give it that much time.
Yeah.
So I guess, as I said, customers don't really differentiate on how much time they can give you for what kind of activity. I'm sure at MetLife, the kind of digital transaction journeys that are being drawn up will have a similar kind of shortened time span in mind, because people exit. So I guess whether it's 15, whether it's 12, whether it's 20 can be debated, but I think in summary, shorter the better.
In seconds, that's what is most important,
Definitely.
right? It's no more minutes.
1, it's seconds, 2, it's number of clicks.
Yeah.
And it's fast riveting down to just a click.
Yeah. So I'll switch the topic a little bit on the data analytics. We all touched on it. I think that is everyone wants it. You can never have enough of it. And whatever data you pull up, you just feel like there's some more you can pull up. And this has been the nature of what we feel as well. I mean, my own company, I'm talking about me as a CEO of the company. Whatever information they give me, I seem to ask something, they don't have it. Right? And it keeps going on like that. So that's the data, but talking about data for personalization, right? And we talk about extreme personalization or very highly segmented personalization. How do you treat that data? I mean, we'll start with you. How are you able to churn this data, and what is your touch points on capturing the data, and how are you doing the data mining?
Definitely, I think data for us has always been an evolving story. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, the requirement is always the case wherein you say that we want the data and it's not there, you being a CEO of the company.
Yeah.
So, in the challenging environment that as of now we live in, the kind of market points, the customer expectations are so evolving that data points have to be always churned. So, whatever we develop or we keep on developing, it's always changing. So, for us, a data journey has to be wherein we are actually able to build up a data platform, wherein we have a data BI or data warehouse, which actually is able to interact at all the omni-channel data presence points which are there. So, data presence is not there just in one segment of call coming in, or a customer coming in through a chat, or person going in to service a customer. So, there are multiple sources of data for us which is there. So, customer data who went to shop to buy a TV, his expectation is to actually get the TV installed immediately at the same day.
Yeah.
You will take 2 months to decide on what you want to buy.
But TV has to be ready that day. That's
you would expect that by the time I reach home, like his medicines, what you talked about, my TV would be installed in the same day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So for you, that experience starts from the time you made the payment.
Yeah.
Or not even make the payment, you made the decision. Yes. The payment should happen again in 15 seconds. Yes. The whole billing experience should happen in 15 seconds. So for us is, if you walk into a Sony center, for me, our experience would start when you have made the decision and the billing happens, because the billing again happens on my touch point, on my system. Yeah. And then once the billing happens, the installation needs to be done, that experience needs to be delivered to you. And then if there's, God forbid, there's any issue which happens, that needs to be resolved immediately. You don't have to go around many places and searching for that. So for us, building up a platform which actually addresses all these needs and all these omni points which are coming in there, and be very responsive in nature before anything gets to a higher level is what we expect.
Yeah, no, that's so being able to gather all of the data and be able to process it and able to fine tune your processes to make that better. I mean, it has to be something that has to, at the end of the day, impact the experience of the consumer.
Yes, because for us, the other challenge is that our product itself is a technology product.
Yeah.
It itself is evolving so much that it's going to give us so much of data in future. And our platform should be ready to even take those data, apart from the normal traditional channels of getting the data.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Absolutely. So from FT standpoint, are you the largest mutual fund?
Oh, no. I wish I was. No.
You're not? Okay. But since demonetization, have you seen an increase in number of people taking mutual fund?
Yes.
You have, isn't it?
Sharp increase.
Yeah. So we know where you are putting your money. Okay. So yeah. So from a FT standpoint, how are you doing? What kind of data are you capturing?
So contrary to what you said, every time I ask for data, I don't get enough, or I don't seem to have. I think we have a contrarian problem. We have so much data. I don't think we are milking it enough.
Yeah.
Right. Data in itself is of no use, right? It's what you draw out of it and are able to use well in your decision making that really matters. So we are at 2 years back, we decided to create the data well and put all the data together. I think we've done that well. So is data coming in nicely and sitting nicely in its raw form? I think that's happened. Now we need to extract intelligence out of it. And I think loosely put, we see 3 ways in which you extract intelligence. One is the logical way. If a customer buys every month, I think every month I should remind him to buy again. That's logical analysis. All of us take great pride in thinking that that's what is data analytics, right? Then there is artificial intelligence. A lot of our systems come pre-built beyond our ability to understand on what will optimize your success rate. Okay, for example, if I'm running a campaign manager, I might think that Friday evening and Saturday morning is a good time to send him an email because he has a better chance to see it, but that's my bias. He actually might be watching it every morning between 8 and 9 because that's when he's driving from Malad to Lower Parel, right? I can't judge that for a customer. But there are systems that automatically understand what's the best time to send an email, right? Those are AI models and we should embrace that when we're trying to do that, okay? Let the model decide what it has to do. Don't try and layer it with the bias. And I think the space where we want to eventually go is what is loosely known as deep learning, okay? Where there is so much of learning being picked up automatically by what they call neural networks or artificial intelligence and machine learning systems, it's beyond your ability to comprehend. Okay, all you can do is trust it, pilot it, and let it do its job. Very often, at least in the journey that we are in, one of our bigger obstacles is the inability of some of our leadership to understand and comprehend what's happening as one of the obstacles for not letting it happen.
That's interesting.
That's where we are on the journey.
So has it surprised you, some of the data that comes out of this neural network, AIs and, into this?
It does, because one, I have to beat commonly held theories. Then I have to also deal with the fact that maybe you don't have enough data to know what I know. That's another very difficult question, right? There is no answer to it.
Yeah.
And so very often, not just here, but in any analytical kind of a role, you'll realize building the model is very easy. Taking it to execution is very tough. So even in data, in neural networks or artificial intelligence, we come across that path. Okay, but to allow minimalistic POCs such that even if you damage it, the challenger is not enough to hurt your business in a big way, but you test in a limited, what you call destructive testing.
Yeah.
You allow it to happen. Only then can you actually let your data tell you whether things are happening better or worse. So I think it's defeating the human biases that's tougher in this intelligence gathering than it is to actually find the tools that will get you the intelligence. At least that's been my learning. I'm sure it might be different from some of the others.
That's well said. I think that's also 20 years of senior management unlearning it and learning it the new way. That's harder. We are all unfortunately trained to think in certain way. So we have to untrain ourselves many ways. So that's brilliant. So from insurance standpoint, I mean this is, I guess you cover all gamuts of insurance, but when you think from insurance standpoint, your brand loyalty is the biggest problem in my view on insurance. It's all about who is going to give me the same product at 100 rupees lesser than I'm jumping over to the next month. How do you use data? What kind of analytics you use in order to act on it, in order to be proactively being able to keep that loyalty?
Yeah, sure. So as an insurance company, I always say that the only asset which we have is data. We don't have any other assets apart from that.
Yeah, that's true.
Any financial services company is to that how intelligently we mine it. So to answer your question about brand loyalty or sticking on to whatever you do, I think in the Indian financial services space, mis-selling is one of the biggest problem we face. So when you get into a lifestyle stage financial planning, the need is fabricated when a product is sold or a service is sold, whether the product is a mutual fund product or it's an insurance product. So while the mis-selling happens a lot of times due to subconscious bias, we say that the sales guy went and mis-sold because he had a target to achieve. But if you get into the data part of it, I think you can look beyond that. Did we equip ourselves with the data which we had to find out what the need was, and if not, why? Because a lot of times, again, that's the problem, that's the art part of it, not the science part of it, is that we feel whether it is artificial intelligence, it is machine learning, it is all those fancy analytical model is going to give you a solution, but that is only a means to an end. It is the ability of the data architects or the business architects to interpret and predict that data for a meaningful conversation to happen. Because you can have the best of the data warehouse with you, you can have the best of the data models with you, but how do you do is what it is all about. I think as an organization we are realizing that as we try to move away from anecdotal way of doing a lot of decision making to become more fact based decision making. I think that's a journey. I don't think so it's going to happen overnight, but the journey is on the right direction where we are going to figure out that why did Samrat drop out after 2 years? Well, he took a policy which was for 15 years, and there can be various interpretations to that. And that subconscious bias of telling that is that the sales guy who was there and you had a target to achieve and he just pushed it off and blah, 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 is a story which is old. Now you have to get into figure out more beyond that to figure out. And now that you have accessibility of data beyond your organization in this whole ecosystem, you can actually find out whether it's Alexa telling you that what Samrat asks more, or your Facebook telling you what he did, or your CIBIL score tells you are you writing your checks rightly, can be able to predict a lot of things around brand loyalty. So I think not a straight answer, but I'm trying to give you a little abstract, because I think on the data I still feel that it is more of the art rather than the science which needs an evolution to happen.
Yeah, So I want to be sensitive to any one of you who want to ask any questions. I don't want to take away all the time. I'm having an MBA lesson here, right? I mean, I'm learning more from these gentlemen here than I can read on the books or net. So I'm going to keep doing this till I get the value for money. Right? So if any one of you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. I'll turn it over to you. Anyone in the? So yeah, you keep thinking. Question. I have more here coming. So okay, so I'm going to drive this back to the theme that we actually have, mobile, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, and this could be a, kind of, you self-rate yourself. How far along are you on your journey of leveraging mobile, both internally for your customers, productivity gain, however you want to rate it? How would you rate yourself, Samrat?
I think we'll rate ourselves anything between 7 to 8.
7 to 8 out of 10?
We're very matured on this.
So from this is internal as well as for the customer?
Yes. Yeah. So internally we run a theme, it's one MetLife app. You put your credential, based on your credential, you're an employee, you are a distributor, you are a customer, even you are a shareholder, you get what you want to get. That's about it. I think that's the utopian theme which you have.
Yeah, wonderful. And for, that's for internal?
Yeah,
and
for employees also.
For employees also, yeah. Internal, external, both you kind of have connected all the dots on the mobile.
Yes.
Okay, and so you 7 out of 10. Amitabh?
Something similar, I think, because for mobile for us is one of the best touch contact point with the customer. So definitely all our experience that should be mobile friendly with the customer, that whether we build a website or we build a touch point with the things. In the past, yes, as evident with the industry norms, people can say yes or no, but apps are out. So we had so many apps, yes,
yeah.
3, 4, but apps are out. So everything has to be now more of a connected dot experience, wherein all the touch points are connected, which would definitely happen on mobile now most of the time. And so this should be mobile ready. That's for the customer side. For us, definitely there is a large, I think in their sector also, is large set of sales force which is thrown out in the market, and the only way to actually get in touch with them is through the mobility applications, enterprise ready mobility applications, which we also use and most of the people are using. So those are, I have to give a very, very correct experience to the customer. We should be able to get the data from them, of what we want. So these are one of the core collection points for data for us. So yes.
Great.
So I'll be less, I'll probably give us 4 or 5 at best. For 2 reasons. I think mobile is the machine, but our digital strategy is still very, very, very rudimentary.
Yeah.
And 2, if today 20% of our business comes through digital, 25% of that comes through mobile. So I would say 5 to 6% of my business still comes mobile. So I still feel a long way to go before we can take some comfort about mobile being well ingrained into our business mainstream.
Yeah.
So really, even 4 would be quite generous, I would say. A long way to go.
Fabulous. Then we'll start with the reverse order. Social? Social for business, not social for branding. They're 2 different things.
Well, branding is business.
Yeah.
So I would still say 5, 6, 5 or 6. Good, healthy interactions, improve from where we are. Again, a long way to go. It all depends what you want to consider as best in class.
Yeah.
The moment you consider global best in class as your benchmarks, I think we tend to believe we are faring quite poorly. And I don't mean global best in class with Franklin alone, global best in class with the best use of Twitter by any company.
Yeah.
In that sense, we are quite weak. Maybe 5.
Okay. Amitabh?
For me, yes, social is something which we still need a way to go, because benchmarking with what other people's, in the sense, because it's not only our industry, but social is something where people see themselves when they go out. So it's not is something which you again said, they see experience not from one country, they see experience coming out of something similar kind of experience. So they have a 5-second response, they expect a 5-second response, so from us also.
Yeah.
So for us, I will say we have started the social journey. It's not very engaging till now, but we have started the journey, and I'll put myself as 4.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, Samrat?
So, I think even we are a little low on this quotient. One is obviously for the external social to play, being in the financial services, there are some regulations and laws around that which we need to be a little cautious about what we want to do. But having said that, the internal, which is more captive, I think it's a long way to go. So around 2, 3 maybe, I think that's how I will score it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is the last question, I promise you.
Okay.
You've been great sports. I mean, you've taken all the questions. Unless there's any audience question, this is my last question. So, AI, how would you rate yourself?
We will rate ourselves around 5.
That's good.
So, we already have an AI-based app for customer servicing.
Yeah.
And I think at the stage, it's more of a test and fail and learn, whatever you call it. But the intent is very, very high around AI, yes.
Fantastic. Amitabh?
For us, AI, I'll say the quantum that AI can actually deliver is huge.
Yeah.
And the data which is sitting with everyone is, I think, is enormous. People are taking, in my company itself, they're not talking about data lake, they're talking about data oceans now.
Data oceans, yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So we've gone
that's
beyond
good.
lake.
Yeah.
And it's a humongous amount of data which is not a capability of any human to actually interpret, infer, and take a decision based upon, informed decision based upon that. And it has to come from AI. The deep insights which can deliver can only come from AI. So I would like to say that we have just started a journey on AI, which I'll put at 2, because there's still a long way to go.
Good, great.
I would say close to 0.
Close to 0? That's pretty as brutally honest you can be.
I just think we haven't done anything
Yeah.
To be able to give a delta positive to the business with AI.
Yeah, yeah. That's the right
As a
way to
project
think
team, I'll be doing a lot till the rubber hits the road. I don't think you can count it.
That's a great way to say that. Well, that's fantastic, and I learned quite a bit. I love the rating part, how they self-rated themselves. No one's rated 10 out of 10, so that gives us hope that what we are working on is going to actually help them drive towards the 10, right? And like I said, we have the 3 booths back there on the same 3 topics. Love to have you go and visit and learn what we're doing about that. To me, this has been quite engaging conversation, and I wish we could do this on a weekly basis, but it doesn't happen that way, which is fantastic. So once again, let's thank all 3 of them for sparing your valuable time, and for all of you for joining us to sharing this. We're going to have a small break now, and then post the break, you're actually going to see some of those mobile social AI in action. We're going to show a live demo of some of the things that we've been working on, followed by, of course, the Childline, and how the same system can be used to have a social impact for the country like us. So, but while we're taking break, once again, gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a great